Warning: the following audio drama contains adult themes and scenes of intense violence. Listener discretion is advised. Previously.
The souls of those that perished have told us the attackers came in the obsidian of night's darkness. Many died fighting. Others, for some reason, took their own lives.
It is only a glimpse, but your mother is alive.
We have blended with the other masters from our remaining schools and agree that, as of now, no member is to leave the compounds.
I think you could use the help of a Roman soldier right about now.
We travel only at night, even once we reach the valley forests, until we come to the first village.
You want to look invisible, but you are anything but that.
Perhaps it is their darkness that shrouds the souls of those who we would be hearing from in the West.
Now these two are far too remote. But this one, been at our gate the whole time. Our assault would have to be much different than the last. And with our lessons learned.
She can't leave just yet. I demand some sort of restitution for the money she's lost me.
Take the Gaskins. Just keep them under heel, at least temporarily.
With pleasure.
The end will be the first place they come looking.
Eye of the Beholders. Episode 3. Pre-emptive Strike. Without the blanket of clouds, the air within the Muein sanctuary in the Alps became increasingly cold. Master Ishrak went about lighting bonfires throughout the compound, hoping they would bring heat, light, and a place for meditative focus. Golda had caught up with her, though she didn't need mention that Wimarc, Aaron, and Samantha had departed. Ishrak, in her enlightened wisdom, already knew they were gone.
It distresses us greatly that they have demonstrated a lack of trust to the flow of the river which carries us all. Have we not taught that there are no such things as coincidence in the world? It is only our lack of understanding.
Yes, Master. But is it also not important to give aid and service when we know such service is desperately needed, especially if they are kin?
Are we not all each other's kin? I truly admire the power of love that compels them, as it does a mother bird to compel her young to eventually fly from the nest. But the mother bird also knows when the time is right, and that time is not when the nest is being watched by hungry predators.
My husband is a master apprentice. Samantha and Aaron, guardians. Their tracks will be hidden.
Ishrak perched her torch, then placed a warm hand on Golda's shoulder.
Yes, my beloved Golda. Their knowledge and skills will serve them. It is their selfish attachments that do not, and to which I fear may put us all at grave risk.
A haze obscured the ceiling of a small room. At first, things were blurry. fuzzy. Then the faces of 3 nuns came into focus, looking down upon Rachel.
Where am I?
She tried to sit up, finding herself on a tiny bed, but one of the nuns gently coaxed her back down.
No, you must rest easy. Quite a fright you surely had.
Where am I?
The Convento del Santo Rosario.
Another nun wiped Rachel's face with a damp cloth.
How did I arrive here?
You were brought in by Abadia de San Juan de la Sierra 2 days ago. They found you and your companion stumbling into the village, who knows from where. Your clothes were all covered with blood.
Where's my companion?
The nuns looked at each other, evading Rachel with their glances.
Do not worry about that now. You need to keep rest to regain your strength.
No. Take me to my companion.
One of the young ladies hurried out while the others did their best to keep Rachel on the bed.
Now is not the time. Let the Lord feed you his healing graces.
Let me out of this bed.
Rachel pushed them aside, then sat up, just as the 3rd nun returned with the abbess. The elder leader kept her gaze in stern reflection, her skin as pale and cool as what laid behind her eyes.
My young lady, the Lord has seen fit to retake possession of your comrade. Now you would do well to remain here until such time as you are deemed fit for travel. We do not much know the circumstances of your arrival, but in our place we do not need to know, for it is his providence and not ours. What is our providence is your well-being, which, considering the state of how you came to us, we cannot let you go without thorough examination.
Rachel paused, feeling the sudden overwhelm of the circumstances which led her here. The abbess nodded with some mild compassion to one of the younger ladies, then stepped out. One of the nuns placed a comforting arm around Rachel. The sound of the door woke Rachel from the sleep she had eventually fallen into. The low light streaming through the slit of a window suggested twilight had come. She took a moment to get her bearings, centered herself, and sat up on the bed. She carefully took hold of her legs and moved them into meditative position, then closed her eyes. Aaron, Samantha, and Wimarc had taken to a dense patch of forest to rest. They kept dry beneath the lean-to of branches they had salvaged and put together. Per usual, Aaron was too consumed with anxiety to sleep, so did his best to meditate instead. And good thing, as Rachel's presence suddenly made entrance into his awareness.
Mother.
He closed his eyes again to strengthen the blend with Rachel's incoming thoughts. At first light, Aaron informed Wimarc and Samantha of the link. They quickly took to their horses.
She's at a place that cloisters women. Felt like a religious institution.
Did she say where?
She wasn't sure exactly herself. She couldn't remember how she got there.
If on foot, shocked from the invasion, probably a nearby village, just beyond the barrier marker of the school.
Aaron held out his arm, and Thea landed on it.
Very good. You called her home.
This house of the religious ladies she'll hopefully be able to find.
He ran a gentle hand over Thea's head, looking deeply into her eyes, blending with her energy, then released her back into the sky. Not far behind, they were being spied by Pierre and his Gascon entourage.
Devilry.
Aaron casually drew closer to Wimarc and Samantha.
Thea didn't see how many, but they are following.
Look at those clouds. No moon or stars will be out tonight, I'm afraid.
Samantha smiled, understanding his meaning. By evening vespers, the trio strode calmly into a village, resting upon the banks of the road. The town center consisted of a half-dozen buildings, a parish church, and a splattering of homes nestled among the gentle slope of a nearby hillside forest. They parked their horses at an inn near the edge of the river, then slid off the steeds, looking calm and in control. They walked casually into the shadows of the coming night, moving through the town, heading back up the slope, staying to the side of the main road and hidden in the shadows. Pierre and his group of 20 trotted down the road leading toward the village. What they didn't realize, they were being watched in the canopy of trees by Aaron on one side, Wimarc and Samantha on the other, high up. Pierre motioned for his team to halt as the village finally came into view, its streets barely glowing from the light of torch lanterns.
That's where they will stop for the night.
Cross the river?
No ferry movement. Take 5. Settle in the village. The rest of us find camp here, if they do cross the river.
The lead Gascon pulled a short sword. Pierre glared at him.
Just mark where they land. Do not get close. That will do no good against their witchcraft.
I thought the Lord wanted to learn more about them.
In a flash, the Gascon found Pierre's sword at his throat.
Let him risk his own soul for them. We need only follow.
The Gascon paused, then sheathed his weapon and motioned to 5 comrades. Pierre waved, moving the rest of the troop deeper into the forest. The marauders quickly set up camp, 8 tents surrounded by a central bonfire. Their horses were tied loosely to the trees just at the edge of the barracks. A few knights had already fallen asleep at the fire, while many of the others had turned into their tents. 2 camp guards were on patrol, away from the central ring, moving through dense patches of forest greenery.
I say capture, bound, throw them on the fire.
The crumpling of foliage caught his attention. He took a few steps, wondering if it might be an animal. It certainly sounded like one. Getting closer. Closer. A figure leapt down from the tree behind him. At the same moment, Aaron stood up in front of him, and together, he and Samantha took him out with relative silence. At the same time, the second watchman suddenly fell, also quietly tackled covertly by Wimarc.
You were right. We do make a good team.
Samantha kissed him, then they separated, moving into the next phase of the plan. Wimarc silently stepped toward the bonfire, holding 2 small branches. After affirming the duo of knights were still asleep, he lit the branches and handed one to Samantha as she gingerly came closer. Meanwhile, Aaron approached one of the horses. The animal didn't mind him. Aaron placed his hand on the stallion's head, then closed his eyes to find that space within, where his consciousness could blend with the steed's. Wimarc moved to one of the tents, still carrying the burning branch. He knelt and peeked inside, then cautiously sneaked in. He saw Pierre and another Gascon sleeping on the ground. Behind, a small chest sat along the tent's back wall. Wimarc quietly passed between the two, making it to the chest, then delicately opened it. Aaron carefully broke his mental link with the stallion, then gently untied it from the tree. The horse remained steady, as if it were still tethered. Meanwhile, Samantha peeked into a tent and silently entered in. Aaron then took to another horse, placing his hands upon it and blending with its consciousness. Not caring for the chest's contents, Wimarc dropped the burning branch inside the box. Finished with the blend, Aaron untied the horse from the tree. Like the other, it remained still. Like Wimarc, Samantha also found a trunk inside the tent. Keeping watch on the snoring knights, she dropped her torch inside it. All the while, Aaron blended with yet another horse. Samantha and Wimarc re-emerged from the tents. Wimarc silently took a vial from Samantha's pack, opened it, then emptied the contents, forming a circle upon the camp's perimeter. When finished, Samantha reached into Wimarc's pack, smiled, then took one of his vials. She opened it and laid a few extra lines from the circle to 2 of the tents. Then she softly broke camp to help Aaron in blending with the horses, while Wimarc retrieved another broken branch from his previous hiding spot. With an affirmation from Aaron, he lit the branch, then placed it to the dust ring he had made. He then ran to join Samantha and Aaron, each taking to one of the horses. All the horses suddenly bolted away. The commotion woke everyone, a few realizing the trunks inside their tents were engulfed by fire. The group rushed from their tents into the open, only to come face to face with Wimarc's ring of fire. Within seconds, the 2 tents attached to the circle went up. Pierre seeing all their horses gone, supplies and tents being burned to ashes. Wimarc, Aaron, and Samantha burst onto the road and galloped in the opposite direction of town. When morning arrived, the lead Gascon returned from the village. What he saw was pitiful. The camp was in utter ruins. Pierre and the others were still putting out small fires among the charred remnants of the tents, supplies, and parts of the terrain. The Gascon stopped his horse only feet behind Pierre.
This explains why we didn't see them in town last night.
Pierre pulled the Gascon from the horse, then turned him into a pincushion with his best dagger. He stood, the remaining soldiers staring in awe. He licked the blade and mounted the Gascon stallion.
We take horses and supplies from the village, then cross the river. We will burn them in the hottest fires of hell.
Burn them! Stake the cocksuckers!
Wimarc led Aaron and Samantha to another town a bit further downriver. There, they crossed on a ferry raft, taking the stolen horses with them. When the ferry docked, they rode into a small town, but didn't bother stopping. Back in Avignon, Pasquier had returned from his villa near Paris. He stepped pleasantly from the coach and strode confidently for the entrance of the grand palace of the Pope. Behind, handlers carried his luggage, including the prized box from Renier. He was suddenly intercepted by a priest.
Your Eminence.
Yes, Father.
I regret to inform you. During your return here from Paris, our Holy Papa has died.
Do not regret what is so obviously the will of God. When has the conclave been scheduled?
The 29th.
Very good. Thank you.
Candlelight cast a warm glow over Renier's gift box. Pasquier, looking expectant, opened the lid and took out one of the severed fingers. He put a tight grip on it, then closed his eyes. Within a few days, Pasquier saw from one of the palace's private upper windows a regiment of papal soldiers, mounted and marching, as if leaving on a crusade. He smiled at the sight. Later that afternoon, inside Pasquier's private chamber, Pierre Raja de Buffo sat comfortably alongside his slightly older colleague, sharing a cup of tea with him.
I am merely a cardinal deacon, not someone capable of filling the role.
What if I were to tell you the College of Cardinals thinks more highly of you?
I would decline.
What if it's God's will?
Then you first should have made me a cardinal priest.
He stood and extended a hand in gratitude.
A most fanciful consideration. Always good speaking with you.
He pat Pasquier on the shoulder, then politely left. Cardinal de Beaufort chuckled at the thought of being Pope as he strode down the hallway. Suddenly, Pasquier turned in from another corridor, looking on him with intensity. De Beaufort stopped, startled.
I thought How did you...
All things are possible with God. Wouldn't you agree?
His eyes drilled into him. De Beaufort became frightened. A large company camp filled a newly cleared patch of forest near the base of the Alps. So close to the peaks, it was already beneath a fresh layer of snow in conjunction with the mountains. A regiment of knights and squires looked up at the scraggly peaks, looking for something. In one of the tents, Renier sat in a stiff chair meditating, holding an unseen object tightly within his closed palm. Philip entered.
Forgive me, Lord. Our scouts have returned. again they see nothing.
Because they're not looking from the right vantage.
He stood, placing the chopped finger he was holding into the cuff of his sleeve. He peered out from the tent opening, gazing upon the mountains.
I see them so clearly up there. And more. We will need thicker pelts, provisions to travel at night. Only a small team this time, until we have secured what we have come for.
Yes, Lord.
Philip marched away, leaving Renier to fantasize himself inside the mountain temples of the school. A hawk ascended to a peak, then zoomed behind it. A woman guardian raised her arm and the bird landed firmly on it. The young lady closed her eyes and blended into her companion's consciousness. Later, the temple's 7 master guides were seated in a circle inside their secluded sanctuary, surrounded by the glow of candles.
Maybe we should descend and engage with them.
We are not certain these knights and routiers are here looking for us. This war with the Anglos carries on.
Shall we do nothing?
Everyone looked at Master Guide Ishrak for an answer.
Master Freya is correct. Until we know more, we cannot be sure why they are there, and if they are the same people who did attack our brothers and sisters in the West, then we dare not risk revealing our position. Master Ordonio, you specialize in seeing and hearing distant places. Can you try and see what these men are up to?
Ordonio nodded.
Then we will all report back here by the falling of the sun on the southern peak. Blessed be the light of you all.
The group stood and dispersed. A nun politely escorted Rachel from the main convent into the afternoon sun. She showed her to a stone bench looking out upon a beautiful flower garden.
May you momentarily enjoy God's splendor in the warmth and the breeze.
Thank you.
Rachel sat on the bench, then noticed Thea circling high above. She rose to her feet and strained to get a better look, then smiled, to which Thea took off across the horizon.
You like the birds, my lady?
I most certainly do.
Meanwhile, while riding near the border of France at the edge of the Pyrenees Mountains, Aaron could see what Thea had witnessed.
She is showing me the village, across a river, but also near the sea, the path toward it. I can feel it in my awareness.
Then, Guardian, you shall take the lead.
Aaron opened his eyes, smiled, and hurried his horse to the front. Master Ordonio met Ishrak at the platform looking out upon the southernmost peak. There wasn't a hint of sunlight upon the rock due to cloud cover. Feeling solemn, they turned into the sanctuary temple and joined the others already knelt in circle.
Master Ordonio.
In much the same way that the overhead clouds have obscured the sun's light, there is also a cloud that darkens our ability to look in and listen to this army gathered in the valley.
How is that possible?
Has there been this kind of shroud to block our awareness before?
In earlier chronicles, there is mention of lower thoughts creating a thick fog that sometimes resists penetration.
The other masters were baffled by the report.
It is rare because it requires one fundamental principle. Someone who also knows far sight and far hearing, deliberately enacting a barrier through their own efforts.
Everyone was shocked by such precedents. Was it possible someone who wasn't a Muein acolyte had enough knowledge, skill, to confound them?
Which presents an even greater danger to us than we previously thought.
It is perhaps how the Western school was able to be breached.
And the deceased without answers as to their own demise, if they're unable to see through this darkness.
What about us? Could they be seeing and hearing us right now?
Without us even knowing it.
Next time.
Master, your wisdom and expertise would be better suited to protecting our home.
A fresh look at the Western school may also tell us much about who they are and why they are attacking.
You do an old man proud.
You are in conclave. I locked you in personally. You cannot be here.
I told you, I am everywhere.
She still needs much recovery. I would not recommend she leave right now.
I'm sorry, but it is inappropriate to withhold a parent from seeing her children. Would you deny your Christ the communion with his?
They discovered our hidden influences. Who knows how long they had been observing us and able to keep themselves from our awareness.
This magistrum took her own life here. She's still holding the blade.
It's like this one walked right into the fire himself.
He did. They all did. Everyone did what they had to do to protect the knowledge.